We continue with our look at the top 10 Lincoln penny varieties from each decade now with the rocking 50s. The 1950s has some spectacular variety coins, and some of my personal favorite repunched mint mark varieties come from this decade. So then it is only fitting that this list begins with an impressive repunched mint mark in the form of a 1956 D over D variety, where the two mint marks are completely separated from each other. In this example, you can see that the initial D was placed too low on the design, as it is completely south of the final placement. Only a faint remnant of this still remains, as attempts were clearly made to remove it from the die. As such, an earlier die state example would be more desirable. During 2018, one such coin graded by NGC with a grade of MS65 red was sold at auction for $240. The number 9 position is held by the only proof coin on this list. Not that there aren't many proof varieties for this decade, in fact there were quite a few. And while it is true that you aren't likely to find this variety in your pocket change, well, it's just such a unique example, I just had to include it. The coin in question is the 1953 proof Lincoln cent with a re-engraved die. This is best seen just below the date on the edge of Lincoln's vest, where the portrait was very obviously strengthened or re-engraved by hand. Apparently, just a handful of new proof cents were needed towards the end of the year, and instead of producing an entirely new proof die, some of the older, slightly worn dies were chosen and sharpened by hand, before then being pressed back into service. A very nice example of this coin was sold in 2017 in a PCGS slab with a grade of proof 65 red for the price of $152.75. Remember I said that there were some really cool repunched mint marks for this decade? Well, the coin in the number 8 position goes a step further to prove that once again. The 1955 S repunched mint mark is, in truth, a triple punched mint mark variety. The original mint marks were all placed too high, or stated differently, too close to the date. In order to correct this, the mint mark was then repunched further down south, only the second placing was still too far north, so a third yet was necessitated. The result is a very clear triple punched mint mark variety where the upper and lower curls of the initial S are still seen, as well as the second punching, which is placed neatly in between. For this variety, 2017 saw a PCGS graded coin with an MS66 red graded coin sell at auction for the sum of $305. And then in the number 7 slot, we discover the first over mint mark variety on this list, in the form of the 1952 D over S coin. Here, an S was first placed onto the die for the San Francisco Mint, but then it was subsequently overstruck with a D mint mark for the Denver Mint instead. The new D mint mark was also placed slightly offset and to the north as well, leaving the remnant of the original S towards the south. You'd be forgiven for thinking that this might be a D over D variety instead, upon first glance at least, but with closer examination, it will be revealed that this is in fact the lower curl of an S that can be seen here instead. In 2019, a PCGS graded MS65 red 1952 D over S Lincoln penny like this one was sold at auction for $264. 1959 was naturally a transitional year for the Lincoln penny, as the new memorial design was first introduced into circulation. And just so does 1959 represent the first double die variety to appear on this list. This double die Obverse coin is an example of class 2 doubling, with the place of interest on this coin being the date. Separation lines can be seen in the 5 and both 9s of the date. Due to the nature of the doubling here, an earlier die state coin would be more desirable, as later die states the doubling does fade, and the only real evidence that remains is the fact that the numbers are slightly thicker than they really should be, which admittedly is quite a bit harder to diagnose. During 2018, an NGC graded example with an MS66 red grade was sold at auction for no less than $600. Now, you'd remember that we started this list with a 1956D repunched mint mark variety. Well, at the halfway point, we are back at it yet again, with another 1956D over D variety. Now, yes, it is true that this issue has several repunched mint marks to choose from, but by far the best one has to be the coin pictured here, featuring a repunched mint mark so bold that it could be spotted with the naked eye, if your eyesight is good enough. Granted. The D is doubled completely towards the southwest, with almost every detail affected, from the straight bar of the D to the left, and even the rounding of the initial D can be seen inside the cavity of the final mint mark as well. During 2017, an MS67 red graded example of this variety coin from PCGS was sold at auction for $1,293. Another variety comes to us, again from 1955, but it is not the extremely well-known one that might immediately spring to mind. This is the double-die Obverse variety for the 1955 D coin from the Denver Mint. Unlike its more famous cousin from the Philadelphia Mint, which we'll get to in just a while, this coin's doubling is more isolated. Specifically, you'll want to look at the date, where almost the entire one, and mostly the head of the 9, shows doubling towards the west. In addition to this, Lincoln's eye should also be nicely doubled towards the east, or towards the right of the design, as it were. In 2018, a PCGS graded coin with a grade of MS66 plus red was sold at auction for $1,140. In the number 3 position, we go back to the beginning of the decade and find an over mint mark variety for 1951. The 1951 D over S coin. Those of you that have been watching this channel for a while may already be aware that there are actually 2 D over S mark varieties for this date, but for the purposes of this list, I'll only discuss the better known of those 2. The top loop of the S can be seen peeking out from behind the D towards the top, just below the D's top serif. Then, towards the bottom of the D, we can also see the lower serif of the original S mint mark just barely peeking out from underneath the middle of the straight bar of the D. In an earlier die state example, you can even see a faint tracing of the lower curve of the S at this position as well. During the 2018 October Baltimore coin auction, a coin like this with a grade of MS67 red from PCGS was sold at auction for $1,440. And now for the proverbial big guns. The 1955 double-die Obverse penny is surely one of, if not the most famous of variety coins. Period. The classic Class 1 doubling on this coin is simply spectacular, and I'm sure that at least some people might have expected this coin to be in the number 1 position on this list. Well, more on that in just a bit. The spread on this coin is so strong that every last letter of Liberty, as well as In God We Trust, achieves complete separation. The date, too, is doubled to unmistakable effect, and can easily be spotted with the naked eye. Other design elements are also affected, with Lincoln's lapel being the most noticeable of these. With the evergreen popularity of this coin, it should come as very little surprise that in 2018, an MS65 red graded coin from PCGS was sold at auction for $114,000. $1,000. And then, in the top position, there is no doubt that the enigmatic 1958 double-die Obverse Lincoln cent reigns supreme. While it is true that the 1955 double-die Obverse is more popular and certainly more obtainable as well, the 1958 coin is by far the scarcer and the more mysterious of the two as well. To date, only 3 such coins have come to light, and the variety was only brought to the attention of the collecting public at large by as late a date as 1983. Of the 3 examples that are known, one is graded as MS65 and the other 2 as MS64 red. Strong doubling can be seen in a clockwise rotation on the lettering of both Liberty as well as In God We Trust, characterizing this variety coin with far less severe doubling on the date as well. In 2018, during the sale of the ESM collection in Baltimore, one of the MS64 red coins graded by PCGS was brought to auction, where it managed to raise $336,000. Let me know if your favorite penny variety from the 1950s made this list in the comments below, and feel free to check out the other videos from this series as well. Subscribe to WNN and activate notifications with the bell icon so you'll know when new videos are released. For the World Numismatic News, I am Numisman saying thank you for watching, keep collecting, and have a great day.